peaceful and beautiful and physical and angry all at the same time.
Were you idiot, your mind would cave in and your heart would explode within your chest.
This is going to be a shame.
Here we go!
What's happening, everybody? Welcome inside your Wednesday edition of the Tall Can Audio Podcast. Matt Robinson alongside, as always. Well, not alongside. The other guy's alongside. I'm over here. I'm in the captain seat. We're off to a nice start. Joined today by our buddy AJ Jakubec. You've just watched me stumble through a really nice intro. What's happening today,
You
man?
did not have to say any kind of correction. You could have gone
I'm alongside you, the good listener, today, right?
and moved right along.
Got to draw attention
I'm actually
to it.
more annoyed with the fact that you corrected yourself than the actual mistake, which to me was a non-mistake.
Okay. That's good to see you.
Likewise,
yeah.
always.
Glad you came back in. I want to let the good listener know we are on social media at Tall Can Audio. Always love to hear from you over there, and make sure you're subscribed to the show wherever you're hearing us. If this is your first time here, lots to get into with AJ. Always some travel talk. There'll be some soccer, some CFL. Always some hockey finds its way in here. But yeah, I was just saying to you as we came into the room, I was trying to figure out the last time you were in here, and as far as I can tell, it was last August. Does that seem right?
Possibly.
Because I felt like you were here in the spring. Like, normally we try and get you in at the start of the CFL season.
Yeah.
But I couldn't find it. I know you were here a couple times last summer. We talked about your trip to Paris, talked about some soccer travels you were going on. But either way, it's been a minute. It's good to have you back in here.
Always good to be here.
What have you chosen out of the magic fridge there?
Well, I got a Skokie Tail flavored dessert brown ale. So I'm a brown ale guy.
Yeah.
We'll see if this is a little too desserty for me, but notes of cinnamon, vanilla, and maple round out this scrumptious brown ale. So I'm looking forward to this one.
So you're having something from the same...
Sawdust City Brewing.
Yeah. I am also riding right now with Sawdust City. Our friend Angela Thompson, who was at... you and I were just talking about the little event we had for the show's 10th anniversary back in the spring. She was there, but she was just in studio here earlier in the week, and she is the regional sales rep for Lake of Bays Brewing Company, and they have recently, they're calling it a merger. It's really more of an acquisition of Sawdust City and Merit Brewing, but she had all kinds of merch and beers and stuff from them. So I also am having a Sawdust City beer. This is called Viva La Stout. You're into the brown beers. This is a little darker than brown. This will be black in color, but I didn't grab a glass for it. 5.9%. Supposed to be like have a little raspberry to it, a little cookie flavor, a little lots going on. I'm a big stout guy, AJ.
Yes, nothing wrong with a good stout.
That is delicious. It does kind of have a little of that cookie flavor, a little strawberry inside, a little strawberry filling or something. Quite nice.
Yeah, this is excellent as well. But with these types of beers, you have to have a full one to see if you want a second one.
This is it.
Because after one, you decide, okay, is this thing too sweet? Have I had enough of this? That's why I love my Newcastle brown ales, and I have not had a Newcastle in forever because it's hard to find them now.
Yes, it is. It's gotten a lot harder to find them. But I always know I want more than one.
That's a beer you want more than one.
Yes, it is.
Which is maybe not a good thing.
No, you kind of go in knowing you're already behind the eight ball a little bit. I want to remind the good listener, this one I'm having right now comes from Sawdust City's stout. It's sort of a holiday season tradition. It's a 4-pack of 4 different stouts. It's in the LCBO across the region right now, all over Ontario actually, and makes a nice little stocking stuffer, at least for this guy. But even if to grab for your own little holiday parties and whatever you got going on, 4 different stouts from Sawdust City Brewing, all in the LCBOs right now. So shout out to Angela, and thanks again for making both these beers happen today. AJ, there's a whole bunch of stuff, as always, that I want to get your take on, but let's start with, you mentioned you've just wrapped up a move. You've made sure you've laid hands on your passport again. That's a very important thing for you. Where have you been lately? Where have you traveled to here since the last time we've chatted?
A lot of hot spots across this great land of ours. I'm 3 away from all the different CHL home teams. I'm not going to say ranks because there's 4 in the Western League since I left that have changed venues. Vancouver Giants moved from the Pacific Coliseum to Langley. Mm-hmm. Seattle Thunderbirds moved from the same spot that Climate Pledge is now on, the old Key Arena, into a new place in Kent that's smaller, in suburban, I guess, South Seattle. Moose Jaw moved from the old, they used to call it the crushed can, Moose Jaw Civic Center, and it literally looked like a crushed can. Great old barn, but they moved into a new building in Medicine Hat. Moved into a newer one that's in the middle of nowhere in Medicine Hat.
I got a buddy of mine, friend of the show, Steve McLean, hosts a podcast called All 60, a CHL podcast. He just completed this, whatever you got, running the gauntlet here. I believe last season he finished it. And even just this year, he's now had to rebrand the show All 61 because
it'll be All 62 next year with Chilliwack.
So save your money before you update the art and too much of the graphics and things that go along with it. But yeah, same thing. Teams keep moving, new barns, whatever else is going on. It's an ongoing process to hit them all.
OHL Arena Guide, is that his?
They're friends. They work together. But Steve McLean.
Who worked in media of those two? I believe one of them worked in media and the other did.
There's a few different guys around that show. Steve Clark, I know, did play-by-play for a while. I think he helps out on that podcast.
But Steve McLean didn't?
I don't believe he was.
So that's really
media.
impressive.
Yeah.
Like what I'm doing is, like part of the reason I'm doing this, like I called games in the Western League, I called games in the O. So
bit of a head start.
I was missing, like post-pandemic, Hamilton moved to Brantford. Mm-hmm. They played Ottawa in round one. There was a Sunday, it was game 5, and I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to jump in my car and go. And I went, I saw some Gretzky stuff, saw some Alexander Graham Bell stuff, went to the game, had a bite, drove home. And
that night?
Yeah, I did it all in one day.
That's a 6-hour drive.
I've done some crazy ones. So, and then last year I decided, I'm missing Victoria and Wenatchee from the WHL, so I hit both of them in March. And then I just kept knocking off in the last couple of years rinks from the Q, and then we went to Newfoundland. My girlfriend and I were supposed to go to Europe like November, December after CFL season, and she pulled the pin on that, which was the right decision because we're moving.
Right.
And we moved into a place, and so just, there's a lot going on, and in the end, that was the right decision. So I was pouting for about an hour, and then I said, how about we go to Newfoundland for 3 nights? And we did, and it was awesome.
Sure.
And then I did a 6-day trip.
That's a brand new team out there, right? This year?
Yeah, the regiment.
Yeah.
Yeah, so great spot for QMJHL team. And then I'd only spent one night. I'd never been to St. John's. I'd been to Newfoundland. I'd been to Corner Brook in 2005 with the Ottawa 67s. Jeff Hunt, of course, from that neck of the woods. And when St. John's got a team, they scheduled 2 preseason games against the 67s in Corner Brook, and I went on that trip.
Okay.
So never hit Newfoundland, and I'd spent one night in my life in New Brunswick, 7 weeks in PEI for the Canadian Premier League bubble in 2020.
Right.
And then because I had my gallbladder out, I had to drive home instead of flying, and I drove home and basically did all of New Brunswick in a day. I stopped in like Bay of Fundy, Shediac, Alma, Moncton, Fredericton, St. John, all these places, and then stayed in Edmundston and drove home the next day. So did a 6-day tour in November where it was Canada Soccer on the Thursday against Ecuador. Then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, game at UNB Friday night in Fredericton. Saturday, St. John Sea Dogs. Sunday, Moncton. Then I flew to Florida, saw the Panthers and Canucks Monday, Canada, Venezuela Tuesday, flew home. So 6 games, 6 days, technically 6 different cities, although Sunrise and Fort Lauderdale, you can... Sure. I mean, it's kind of the same thing. But yeah, so I'm trying to knock off all these Canadian spots. And then, like I did a Chicoutimi Bay Como trip. Like last year, I did a Rimouski trip where I did it there and back in a day, and the game went to double overtime. So I got home at like 5:30 in the morning and went and worked that day, which is a little insane. And so I had 5 left, and it was like, well, there's no better time than now to go up to Rouyn-Noranda and Val-d'Or. And so I did that on the weekend. You ever been up there?
No. It's pretty isolated.
It's isolated, yeah. Like I enjoyed myself when I was up there. I'm not going to lie. I did not enjoy the drive. Like I like to drive.
Can you speak any French?
A little bit.
Yeah. Enough to get by.
Yeah, I went to my sister's fully...
it's different to go to Montreal than it is to go to Rouyn-Noranda.
Oh, no, but I get by pretty well.
Okay.
Like My sister's fully bilingual. I left French immersion after grade 7. A lot of my friends were from hockey, were in the English school. So I was like, I don't think I want to use this going forward.
Yeah.
Like for a career, I'm glad I took it as long as I did.
Sure.
And it's still semi-useful for me.
Yeah.
Going to places like France and Quebec and that sort of thing. But yeah, it's sometimes.
It's gone for me. I stuck with French all the way through never in immersion.
Yeah.
But I was in advanced French all the way through high school, and I did okay with it. And it just was one of those things that didn't get used enough, right? For several years afterwards, I was going to Quebec reasonably often, and it was handy to have. But I could tell every year the words weren't coming to me. I could still largely understand what was being said to me, but I was rapidly losing the ability to respond.
Yeah,
And
I always test myself, especially like if I'm at a restaurant or whatever, and I see how long I go before A, I have to switch, or B, someone just switches because
gives you the out.
But the thing I find in like Montreal and places like that, I find people switch quicker than if you go to Chicoutimi or Baie-Comeau.
Yes.
Like they'll actually.
There's
like,
a certain amount of I appreciate the effort, but let's get out of this, right? Like,
yeah, but I feel like in some of those remote places, I feel like they really appreciate the effort, and they can tell. Like clearly, I'm not francophone or whatever, but you know they. I love going to Quebec.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it was great. It's just like when you get past Maniwaki, there's like 3 hours of literally nothing. And you drive past all these signs that say SOS 5 kilometers, SOS 10 kilometers with a sign of a phone. And it's like, okay, you know when you're in the middle of nowhere. There's literally nowhere to stop for 3 hours. So it's not the best from that perspective, especially in the middle of December. But when you got up there, like Rouen is a really nice little town and just amazing hockey history. Like Dave Keon, Dale Talon, Darren Pupa, Pierre Turgeon, Sylvain Turgeon. I mean, Kucherov played junior there, but it's just like Andre Tourigny coached there. Yeah, you got all these
above its weight.
Stéphane Matteau. You got all these players. Andre Rasico, like so many players that it's like I had no idea all these guys came from here. Especially guys like Darren Pupa and like I knew Keon because the arena's named after him, but still like. So that was cool. And then Val d'Or, you know, Rouen is a nicer town. And I talked to some people that had been up there. They said, oh, yeah, stay in Rouen. Val d'Or is a little older. But the rink in Val d'Or is awesome. Like one of the best in the CHL. You can't recreate these old barns that they have. They got a special feel. So, yeah, it was cool. So that's 3 left now.
What are they?
It's Penticton.
Yeah.
The good news is when Chilliwack comes in next year, Chilliwack was in the league, and I don't care. They're going to have a new name and a new logo. Yep. It's going to be Chilliwack and the WHL in that barn. So I'm good. I'm not going to Chilliwack.
Checking it off the list.
Yeah. And I don't mind Chilliwack. I love going to BC, but no. But Penticton will have to close off. I called games in Penticton in the old BCHL, and that was in an old barn, and so, yeah, I got to get to the new barn with them in the WHL. So that'll be great. Mm-hmm. And then 2 out east with Charlottetown. Spent 7 weeks there in a summer. And so, yeah, I always like going to PEI. And then Cape Breton. I've never actually been to Cape Breton. So those will be, like, with places like Rouen or Baie-Comeau, like, I don't really care when I go. But with Charlottetown, Cape Breton, Penticton, you kind of want to go spring or fall.
Yeah.
Not in the middle of the winter. So... yeah, 3 more to go there, and then
what is it's the Islanders now in Charlottetown?
Charlottetown Islanders.
Yeah, because I have in my closet an old PEI Rocket jersey.
Okay.
I think you and I have talked about this before. One of my friends is the captain of the Canadian Paralympic goalball team.
Yeah.
And so I went and watched her at a tournament in Fort Wayne several years ago, and she's from Charlottetown, and I remember I'm looking around online, like just I don't know, like a Team Canada hat or something, just to be supportive or whatever else. I'm going down to cheer her on, and I found on eBay, tags on, brand new, big enough to fit me, this PEI Rocket jersey for like $45.
Yeah.
Guy just looking to unload it, and it wasn't even, like the team's name had already changed, but she always preferred the Rocket as well. I'm going to fucking grab that, and showed up in it, she fucking loved it, man. Like it is, but yeah, it's just, I can never keep the names straight now, which one came first and which was, but yeah, I guess it was the Rocket first, and then now it's the Islanders, but... Anyway, that was always $45 for brand new.
Nice.
Yeah, pretty good find. Let's get into this a little bit. We can transition into some World Cup talk here, but what are your plans to travel for it at this point? You and I were talking a couple of weeks ago. You were sort of holding your breath on whether the CFL schedule was going to cooperate with you.
It did.
What was the hold up? And I guess it did cooperate for you.
Yeah, so I got tickets to 6 games, all 3 Canada games, 1 in Toronto, 2 in Vancouver, 2 knockout games in Vancouver, which I'm hoping will be Canada.
Yeah.
If Canada finishes first in the group, it'll be Canada in round of 32, and if they win that game, round of 16. Either way, I got the tickets for those 2 games in Vancouver for the knockout stage and then a semifinal in Atlanta. And 3 of those games I knew were going to be fine because they're on like Tuesdays and Wednesdays.
Right.
But the other ones I was a little nervous about, but it ended up working out.
Are any of these 3 in Vancouver close enough together where you can stay out there? Or are you going to be jumping back and forth?
I've booked every flight but
oh my
one.
God.
And yeah, so basically it'll be 2 nights the first time with buddies, but the night they play Qatar, I fly out. I really want to be I'm going to miss one walkthrough. That's it. I like being there for walkthrough day. I like being there for practices, but it's the World Cup in Canada, so there's going to be some changes just in terms of the schedule. I'll be there as much as I can. I'll still hopefully get to at least 1 practice a week, if not 2.
Any chance
I like
of
to
a
get
little
to
accreditation, like through TSN at all, or
it's too much. It's too much of a hassle for the World Cup. So I actually was accredited to the last one.
You said that, and I wondered if, now that it's here.
No, I'm not even
TSN.
bothering.
Yeah,
no,
okay.
I got my tickets. No matter what happens, I'm going, so it's all good. So, it worked out well. So I've got 2 red eyes, 1 to get home because there's a game on the 2nd in Vancouver. Red Blacks play at home on the 3rd. So that I'll miss the walkthrough for that one. But like even that game on the 18th, I got a red eye and I'm flying back and I'll hit the walkthrough on the 19th, game on the 20th. So it'll be good. It's, and then there's a game in Edmonton that works out really well because I got a game on the 7th in
Red Blacks
Vancouver.
game, you mean. Yeah.
And basically flying from Vancouver to Edmonton that night. So I'll get there on the 7th. The team gets there on the 8th.
Okay.
I'll meet them there, game on the 9th, and I fly back with the team. So it's going to be a little nuts in there. Flying to Vancouver 4 separate times. But it's all good. It's the World Cup in Canada. It's not going to happen again in my lifetime. So, yeah, it's awesome. And then trying to get 3 more games, trying to get Scotland and Haiti.
So I keep interrupting you here. You were in Vancouver, then the next one is a semi in Atlanta later on. Is that right? And there was one more, was there not?
No, so 3 Canada, 1 in Toronto, 2 in Vancouver.
Then 32, 16.
32 and 16 in Vancouver.
Atlanta.
Semifinal in Atlanta.
Okay.
And then I've applied for 3 more, which is Haiti and Scotland. That's in Boston. It's the day after the game in Toronto between Canada, and it could be Italy, it could be Wales, could be Bosnia, it could be Northern Ireland.
We'll get into that.
But so after that, we'll spend one night in Toronto, but after the game, we'll see, especially if Canada wins, soak up the atmosphere a little bit, and then jet out of town, maybe drive halfway to Boston if I get these tickets, and then we'll see Haiti, Scotland, which would be awesome because it'll be Haiti's first World Cup game since 1974, and it'll be Scotland's first World Cup game since 1998. So I'm really hoping we get tickets to that. And then I've put in for 2 more knockout games, 1 in Seattle, which happens to be on the 6th. And, of course, I'm going to the game on the 7th. So that would work perfectly. I don't have to change my travel plans. And then I've got I put in for quarterfinal in Kansas City, which could be Canada, could be Argentina, Portugal, which if it is and the prices are high enough, I might just sell
off again.
Yeah, but if it's Canada, at least I know I got a ticket. So we'll see how it goes. So I won't go to any more than, I think. Now, if Canada finished 2nd or 3rd in their group, then I'm going to have to get tickets as I go to those.
Sure.
And a couple
we don't know where those will be yet, right? Like
not yet. And a couple of flights that I got were most of them were non-refundable, but a couple of them were refundable just in case I wanted to kind of cancel at the last minute if I decide not to go if Canada's not in that game. So yeah, it's really a big puzzle, and World Cup tickets, they're taking a lot of heat for this, and rightfully so, quite frankly. It's ridiculous how they're gouging people on this. But beyond that, just the logistics. Like, look, not every World Cup is going to be like Qatar, where, all right, you're there. Now you can just buy tickets to whatever you want because you know you're there. But even
you
if
were
you're
in here around that. For people who don't know, Qatar is about the size of like Hamilton through Barrie through Oshawa, right?
Yeah.
Like so once you're there, you can get where you need to go.
Well, I went to 4 games in one day. Enough said.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's an hour between games. It was still insane. It was still really hard to do.
Yeah.
But it was doable. Like with this, I mean, you're talking about 16 cities in 3 countries in 4 time zones, and like just the logistics of not knowing. Okay, well, could be in San Francisco, could be in LA, could be in Vancouver. Well, like all of a sudden, and late travel is not easy.
No.
When you're flying, it's different when you're driving.
Sure.
But when you're flying, you don't really know
and for
how expensive it's going to be.
For the competitors, I keep reading, like, look, we all saw last week, they said there's going to be these hydration breaks, and everyone dunked on it, commercials and, whatever that's going to be. But we are playing not just in different time zones, but like Toronto in June is different than Mexico City in June, right? Like in terms of temperature or in terms of elevation, right? Like,
well, those breaks are going to be necessary.
Yeah.
So, like, I know people like to,
but just geographically speaking, for the athletes, you don't know where you're going to be throughout this tournament, and you could see some radical climate.
Oh yeah,
discrepancies.
The elevation in Mexico City is for sure going to potentially be a factor. Yeah, there's a lot of different things at play, and I can say there's probably like Kansas City in the summer.
I think you were just there, were you
insane.
Not? Yeah.
Well, I was there for Copa in 2024. Yeah. That was the game the linesman he passed out.
Yes.
Like right in front of us. And Max Craig Poe came running over. No one saw it. Like we're all pointing, like going, like I thought the guy died.
Right.
Like it was scary stuff. And
it was like 40 degrees.
It was 40 degrees, and none of this, you know my deal with the Humidex. Like, it was 40 degrees. Not like, 40 with the, no, Humidex, heat index, whatever. No, it was 40 degrees. Okay? Like, so, like, Humidex people would probably say it was about 58.
Sure.
But it was hot and humid, and it was brutal. So, yeah, I mean, they're going to need those hydration breaks, and I think they've said they've timed these games. Like, I don't even know. I didn't even look to see. There's so many different things that I looked at. I didn't look to see what time the games, for example, in Kansas City are, but that's one where, in an ideal world, those games are being played at night, because if they're playing games in Kansas City in the middle of the summer with how hot it gets there, and that's not abnormal. Like, they get just wild temperature swings. Like, we saw the Chiefs game recently where they're playing in bad cold. They play in bad cold in the winter, but it is crazy hot there in the summer. That might be the hottest venue when it comes to all the 16 World Cup venues, including the Mexican one. So, yeah.
But like, you could almost adapt to that if that's where the whole tournament was. But if you've been in Vancouver, where it's sort of been, nice enough, 26, and there's a nice ocean breeze and whatever else, and then you get dropped into Kansas City, it's a huge swing for these athletes.
Well, the next one, there's 6 countries.
Oh my God.
And they did this essentially to give Saudi Arabia the 2034 World Cup, because they knew, all right, well, we're on a 12-year cycle. So Qatar got theirs in 2018. Or sorry, 2022.
Yeah.
2026, it's North America. 2030, they gave it to South America, Africa, and Europe. And so, like, that only left
I just remember.
Oceania, and New Zealand's not big enough to host a 48-team World Cup. No. Maybe if Australia's in the Asian Confederation, so they could have done maybe Australia and New Zealand, but basically Asia was saying no because Saudi Arabia spent all the money.
Yeah.
So they got games in Uruguay, Paraguay, Argentina, Morocco, Spain, and Portugal. Now, most of the games are going to be in Spain, Morocco, and Portugal. Only opening round games are going to be in the other 3. They've done this they said they did this because it's the 100th anniversary of the World Cup, and the first one was in Uruguay. But we know why they did it. They wanted to hurry to get to Saudi Arabia and get all that cash because, Saudi Arabia was going to give them a lot of cash to get the World Cup. So, boom, you got 6 different countries and 3 different continents, and now 2034 goes to Saudi Arabia.
Some teams are getting on a transatlantic flight to play in the same World Cup. That's just insane to me. Like, I was just talking about this with Rob earlier on when we were talking about they've unveiled. Well, the NHL mentioned how the next Hockey World Cup is going to look, which is obviously a whole other smaller animal. But we used to do the first pool or the first round of the World Cup of hockey. If there were teams in Europe, they'd just start a few days earlier, and then they would fly over to North America to play the semis and the finals. If you're doing it mid-season, you got teams getting on flights to Europe, playing that round, and then getting on flights back to North America mid-season. I can't imagine how these multiple time zone World Cups are going to work. And like you said, it's not going to be that different here in North America. We got 4 time zones in this thing. It's going to be wild. Before we talk about who Canada drew specifically, because I do want to get your opinion on that after your several hundred runs at the draft simulator or the draw simulator, there's been some complaints I've seen online about the games Toronto got. And I've seen this going in both ways. If we're an equal partner in this, we're getting Uzbekistan and whatever. And the pushback seems to be, and I'm not knowledgeable enough on this stuff to know which is more correct. You're like the smallest stadium in the tournament. You're lucky to be getting anything. Just shut up. You got a Canada game and sort of take what we give you. I'm sure there's more nuance up the middle than those two arguments, but where would you come down on the games Canada or that Toronto has gotten?
Yeah, and same with Vancouver. I believe it's the 2 smallest stadiums. So, end of story, end of argument.
Yeah.
And by Toronto by a significant amount.
Yes.
We're talking about just over 40,000.
Yep. After massive upgrades to get to that. It's a 23,000 seat stadium.
Stop your complaining. If you want to complain about tickets or ticket prices, go ahead. But in terms of the games, it's a 48-team World Cup. You got a Canada game. And it's going to be, honestly, if Canada gets Italy, that is one of the marquee matchups. Like Colombia, Portugal, and you've got some others, France, Norway. But Canada, Italy, if it happens, is one of the marquee matchups of the tournament.
The GTA is not ready for a Canada-Italy, just in terms of the population types. Yeah.
All these traitors.
This is it, man.
I've called them traitors. I call them all traitors. They're generally Leafs fans, too.
That's nice. I'm glad we've gotten there so soon. I was watching... I was listening to you. You were actually talking to James Duthie about it a little bit on the drive. I've heard you bring it up a few different times. I'm reading other people, again, far more knowledgeable than me on soccer, on sort of what to hope for as the draw was getting ready to take place. And just as importantly, who not to be looking for. And I think one of the things that people said was Switzerland would not be the end of the world, which is who they got in pot 2. It's not the best thing you could hope for, but you don't want some of the other big dogs that are in that pot, and it would limit the possibility of you getting a second European team in pot 4. It didn't pan out that way.
Yeah.
Qatar, I think, on the other side of things, was about as good as you could have hoped for in pot 3. Walk me through sort of as it was playing out, your opinion on, that's good, that's not so good, as it went through.
Yeah, I thought Switzerland was a good draw because, again, like you said, it didn't completely nullify the opportunity to get another European team, but at least by the time you got to the last group, you had the possibility of getting a Jordan or a Cabo Verde or someone.
Jordan, I believe it's pronounced.
Yeah, we don't like to go there. It was a tough day for 99. I'm an Edmonton guy. He had a rough day.
He did.
So Switzerland was I feel like of the 12 teams that they could have had from pot 2, Switzerland was probably upper middle of the pack in terms of tougher opponents there. Like, it wasn't the most difficult. But that being said, like, there's teams like Japan I wanted no part of. Part of the reason I didn't want Japan, the old pool reference or snooker or billiards or whatever you play, it's not just what you hit, it's what you leave.
Right.
And if you get Japan, not only is that a really tough opponent, that eliminates any possibility of getting another Asian team.
There you go. Yeah.
So what I liked about Switzerland...
And for people who aren't super familiar with it, there are rules about how many
you can
teams
only
from
have-
each region are in your... So when we say getting Switzerland should have knocked down the possibility of getting a second European, it did limit the opportunity, but it didn't take away the opportunity. And if you had gotten Japan in pot 2, you can't have Qatar in pot 3, and you want Qatar in pot 3.
Yeah, and so essentially one team per confederation per group, Europe being the outlier because there's 16 teams, 12 groups, so every group had to have one European team, and 4 were going to have 2.
Right.
You couldn't have 3. So once you got Switzerland, you said, okay, well, even if you get Norway, which would have been, like, the biggest thing for me was avoiding Norway, because the gap between Norway and the majority of the other teams in pot 3, some of them were going to be tricky, but some of them aren't that great, including Qatar, was massive. So to get Qatar and have that game where it's like, okay, there's no such thing in sports as a free spot in the bingo card.
Right.
But
this is as close as you were going to get.
Really as
They're
close
at
as you can
51,
get.
I believe, in the world.
Oh, it doesn't even matter. Don't even worry about those stupid rankings.
All right.
FIFA's awful.
But like my understanding when you talk about Norway is they're not a traditional power, but lately they are lighting teams up offensively.
Well, they had some tough years, which hurt their FIFA ranking, but they are absolutely rolling. They got big time talent. One of the top players in the world, Erling Haaland. So you didn't want Norway.
No.
Just the gap between what you could have got and Norway, massive. So to get Qatar was big, and then you wanted to avoid Italy in that last one. You didn't.
Yeah.
It is what it is. I still like their chances to get out of the group.
So talk to me about Italy, because they are a tradition. And again, just for people who aren't big soccer knowledgeable people like myself, you're not guaranteed Italy. There are 2 play-ins still to come. So there'll be 2 semis, essentially, and then those winners will face off against each other. Italy is in those 4 teams. It sounds like most people expect it will be Italy. I think of Italy traditionally, AJ, as a world power, one of the best ever. Yeah. You want no part of this. And yet somehow, not only are they not qualified, they've still got to win 2 games to get in. Where's the break in my knowledge of Italy and why they're in this situation? Are they not what they once were, or are they just in kind of a down period?
A little bit of both.
Yeah.
And they were in Norway's group, and only 1 per group got in automatically. So Norway is better than Italy, quite frankly. Mm-hmm. So like I said, I'm glad we avoided Norway. Yeah. I would have rather avoided Norway than Italy.
Okay.
And that group. And like you said, they don't have a clear path there. Like, do I think they're going to beat Northern Ireland at home? Yes, I do. But then if they win, they have to go to the winner of Wales or Bosnia. That's the biggest thing. The fact that second game, and that was part of the draw, the fact that second game for them is going to be on the road. If both those games were in Italy, I'd be saying, okay, it's Italy's to lose. They should be fine. See you on June 12th. But because they have to go to either Wales or Bosnia, that's going to be tricky. I still think Italy's the favorite, but it levels the playing field, and Wales got to a World Cup last time around. Bosnia's got some really good players as well. So not going to be straightforward. I think if you do get a Wales or a Bosnia, it changes the dynamic of the group in the sense that now Canada, I think, is favored to be top 2, whereas with Switzerland and potentially Italy, now I think you're looking at top 3. And honestly, Canada, Switzerland, Canada, Italy, like those can go either way. Italy's got man for man more talent. Donnarumma in goal, Barella, you've got Tonali, you got all these, you got a lot of really good players. I mean, it should be a top 7 or 8 soccer country in the world. Right now, they're down a little bit. They're top 15, probably in the world, maybe top 20. But Canada, I think, is pushing top 20. And Switzerland's probably in that But like, I think right now Italy and Switzerland are between 11 and 20 in the world, and Canada is pushing top 20. So on their day, Canada can
You just
win.
told me not to pay attention to those rankings, but
No, I'm not talking the FIFA rankings.
okay.
I'm just talking like where they are actually at.
okay.
So on their day, Canada can win, Canada can lose, Canada can draw. And I think all those matchups involving Switzerland, if it is Italy, Canada, like you could come up with a lot of different scenarios where, one is one, another is second, another is third, and they all qualify. Because the key to the group, and the reason this isn't a bad group, it's not the best group they could have got, but it's not the worst, it's because of Qatar. Qatar just played in the Arab Cup at home in Doha, and they had one draw and 2 losses against Palestine, Syria, and Tunisia. Okay. And Tunisia's at the World Cup, but Syria and Palestine not even really close to getting there. And they got 1 point from those 2 games at home. Doesn't mean on their day they can't find a result, but Canada should win. They should win 99 times out of 100 against Qatar. And because there's 3, not 2, coming out of the group with this 48-team World Cup, that means if you get a win and you don't get blown out in the other 2, even if you lose the other 2, you should be going through. So I think Canada's in really good shape.
One of the interesting dynamics in this that, again, I'm having to work to keep my head wrapped around is these pots, Group 1, Group 2, Group 3, Group 4, essentially, is that the best teams are in Pot 1, but also the host countries.
Yeah.
And so Canada, in no other world other than being one of the 3 hosting countries, is in Pot 1. And so it's been interesting to be like, well, we're sort of evaluating Switzerland going, it's not bad, it's not the best, not the worst. Even Qatar, and the winner of whoever comes out of this European play-in, they're all looking and glad they got the Canada group. Like, they have avoided another world power in Canada. Is that a fair assessment that they'd be happy to be in Canada's group?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say Canada, any of the hosts, like US, Mexico, they're all in similar spots. I know some people saying, well, I'd rather play Canada than Mexico because of the crowd factor. And I mean, I think either way, you're talking about 10, 11, and 12. If the team that I actually would have preferred, and this is where I don't like these rankings because they go back 5 years, and so it's skewed. You have some teams like Norway that are better now than they were 5 years ago, and you have others, Belgium, that are better 5 years ago than they are now. Belgium's not a pot 1 side. So for me, Belgium, because they're not at home, that would have been the best draw. And then, but I'm guessing, Canada's never won a World Cup game.
No.
So they've got to go, like, there's pressure on this team. Like, they got to get out of the group. They have to get out of the group. And the good thing is, if you get out of the group, even if you finish second, you'll play the second place team from Mexico's group. So there's no Argentina or Spain or England or France or Germany there. And if you finish third, there's a 98 to 99% chance that you're going to San Francisco and you're playing the winner from Group D, which is the American group with Australia and Paraguay, and could be Turkey, could be somebody else from Europe. So even if first is way better, mainly because you're still at home in Vancouver for the round of 32, you win that, you're still at home in Vancouver. And then you go on the road for the quarterfinals. Dream big if you happen to get there. But really, beyond the travel of going to San Francisco or LA, there's not much scary about the round of 32 matchup. And so for me, the way I look at it, I'll be disappointed if Canada is knocked out in either the group stage, which to me would be a disaster, or the round of 32. Even if you get the States, Mexico, Denmark, Turkey, Australia, whoever, I don't care. Get to the round of 16. You got a winnable path to the round of 16, whether you finish first, second, or third.
So last thing on this, as we watched the draw play out, as long and drawn out as it was there a group or a matchup that got scheduled the next day and locked in where you went, oh, fuck, I wish I could have gotten to that. Like, that group's going to be fun to watch, or those matchups and whether it just be timing doesn't work, your CFL responsibilities, your whatever else, where you looked at it and went, oh, fuck, that's going to be really good.
No. 34 games in 21 days in Qatar. I think,
guess, yeah.
Like, don't get me wrong. There would be awesome matchups to be at, but like Haiti, Scotland is definitely one because of what I said earlier of two countries that are going to their first World Cup in a long, long time. But beyond that,
correct me if I'm wrong, is again not a soccer. That sounds like it's more about atmosphere and history than it is about these are two of the powers, like world powers, right? Yeah,
sure.
Yeah,
but I mean, one of the things I learned from the last World Cup is some of my favorite matches. Like it was Ghana, South Korea, 3-2 Ghana. It was Cameroon, Serbia, 3-3. Like a lot of the big time matches don't always live up to the hype. Sometimes they do, like the World Cup final. I hope I get an awesome game in the semi, whoever's there. I mean, dream big. Why not Canada?
Sure.
One of my sims that I did got Canada. I never saw Canada win a World Cup, but one of my sims got them to a World Cup final. So that would be.
Do you remember the path? Who did they?
I don't remember. No.
Do you remember who they faced off with in that final? No. Okay.
I can't remember.
I'm making fun of AJ here a little.
I did so many sims that it all just blends together. And
AJ hasn't just been doing sims of the World Cup tournament. He was doing sims of just the draw. And what was the number you said? You got a couple of hundred?
Well, I did 381 sims the one night and wrote down every possibility because I was curious to see what the odds were for getting a European team in pot 4, which they ended up getting.
Yes.
And the odds, like you would think, oh, well, the odds must be there's 8 teams you can play and 4 are European. It's 50%, but it didn't work that way because of just the different permutations.
Sure. Yeah.
It ended up being, like, according to my 381 sims, it ended up being 73%. And so that's why I did it. I just wanted to see, and I
Vegas
knew
hadn't done that for you. Like there weren't odds out there on that happening, or
nothing better than doing it yourself.
I guess so.
So yeah, 73%. So I knew there was a pretty good chance. And even like when Wayne started, when he was crapping his pants, getting ready to screw up some names.
I've been practicing this one all day, I believe he said.
When he's doing that and he's getting ready to pull out the first ball, like at that point, the odds were, I think, closer to 50%.
Because we had already grabbed Switzerland.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, I think, so they would have been 4 out of 7 when Mexico went. And then when Mexico got their team, which was, it was the Denmark group, then Canada was up and it was a full 50%.
Okay.
It was the Italy path. There's the 3 European paths, one with the Italy group, one with the Turkey group, and then one with the Ukraine group. And then it could have been Cabo Verde, New Zealand, Ghana. So
there you go.
Could have been a real, like if it was Cabo Verde or New Zealand along with Qatar, man, like you're talking about top 2, which is phenomenal. But in the end, hey, it's going to be a challenging group. But again, because of that Qatar game, that's the key game.
Yeah.
All these people saying, like I saw people saying, oh, it's rigged for the U.S. Yeah, the U.S. can get out of that group. Yeah, they can win the group. And they should do well in that group. But they've got 3 games that are all going to be difficult. Australia from pot 2, in my opinion, is actually their easiest game. You've got Paraguay from South America, and they defend well. And they've had that identity. Kind of like the Devils.
There you go.
They defend well. And so that's not going to be a piece of cake. And then, in your last game,
when your life might be on the line, or at least you've got
potentially Turkey, who's a top 15 team in the world. So they don't have an easy game of the bunch. Like at least Canada's got that Qatar game where it's like, okay, you should win, take care of business, maybe even beat them 2-3-0, pump up the goal difference, and get to the next round. And then whatever happens in those other games happens. But I still feel really good about Canada getting to the knockout stage and potentially winning a game there.
So you feel really good. Put a number on it for me. Percentage chance Canada's coming out of the group stage.
90%.
There you go. Love that. Still a couple things I want to pick your brain on. But, man, it was a another disappointing Red Black season. You were behind the microphone for it. I'm curious, I know you don't get too tied into these things as like a fan, but I'm curious, does it wear on you after this many bad years of being just sitting there watching bad football, watching fans be disappointed? Like, at some point, does it get to you, not as some, like, the way it would get to me as a fan cheering for them is upsetting or whatever, but does it get hard to go and do the job at some point of calling another losing season for a mediocre football team?
I'll be honest, late in the season it did.
Yeah.
A little bit. Like, I got frustrated as well. And there's been many a time I wear my heart in my sleeve. Like, that's kind of how I've always operated, and it's can be a strength, it can be a weakness, as John Tortorella once said as well. But yeah, I think this year it felt like more than most, just because last year, like, it was 8-3-1 and everything was looking good, and then like the wheels fell off. They got into the playoffs, and they had a really good first half against Toronto, and then again the wheels fell off.
Game was a microcosm of the whole season.
Yeah,
right?
So yeah, it was fun that, you know, they had some wins and some home wins and all that, but you were looking for another step, and to take a couple of big steps backward this past year, really disappointing. So
what was behind that? Was it play? Was it coaching? Like, why did they take such a big step back? Or was last year a bit of a mirage?
Yeah, it's a great question. I'm kind of done. I'm not saying that I shouldn't answer the question. I'm going to answer the question, but I'm kind of done with why they've been.
You've
so
had to dissect
terrible
it for a
the last
long
6
time.
years.
Yes, I get that.
But yeah, I mean, probably a little bit of everything. But it's interesting because at the end of the year, I felt more than any of the other 4 bad years in recent memory. I'm not going to talk about the 2-16 season in their first year, but I just felt like when that game ended in Hamilton this year, I just felt like there was no hope. And then all of a sudden they hire Ryan Dinwiddie and everything changed. So I think it's, and it doesn't mean that, magically they're just going to win 12 games and go to Grey Cups and all that type of stuff. No, that takes time.
Yep.
And it's a hard league. Even with a 9-team league, other teams know what they're doing. You got Mike O'Shea in Winnipeg. You got Jason Moss in Montreal. You got all these programs, Dave Dickinson and Scott Milanovich. You got some really good programs. And I haven't even mentioned the Grey Cup champs yet.
Right.
So it's not easy in a small league to kind of knock teams right off their perch. But the same token, you can rebuild quickly in the CFL. And I think Ryan Dinwiddie, the thing for me was talking to people in Toronto, they were devastated that they were losing Ryan Dinwiddie. Absolutely devastated. And basically, the point that they were trying to make to me and the impression that I got was that the Argos were worse and the Red Blacks were better because of what just happened. And when you talk to people around the league, people that I trust, because I always talk to people around the league. Otherwise, if you're just focused on talking to people in Ottawa, you can talk to people that know football in Ottawa that, get overly negative about how the Red Blacks have been. You can talk to people, within the organization that...
You almost get a little tunnel vision, though, right?
Yeah, no, you can get into that echo chamber.
Yeah.
Positive or negative.
Sure.
And so I like to talk to people around the league that know what they're talking about. And when I talked to people around the league, it was unanimous that Ottawa was getting one of the best coaches in the league. Some would say the best. Mm-hmm. And basically they were getting the best offensive mind in the league. So from that perspective, it changed so much. But now you got to go out and deliver. You need to go out and you need to have a good season again. And again, it doesn't have to be 12 wins, but you have to be in and around 500 and competing for a playoff spot and showing hope, because I feel like that was lost, over the last 6 years, and especially after this past year.
By the end of the year, for the first time in my memory, AJ, I wasn't even watching by the end of the season. It just wasn't fun to watch.
They were terrible at home, too. That was the thing. Not only like most of their close, heartbreaking losses, they're in Saskatchewan, first game of the year. It was in BC. It was in Winnipeg. Terrible loss in Winnipeg. Hamilton, Edmonton. Like they had all these entertaining games that they lost. Actually, they didn't lose a close one in BC, but they lost close ones in Edmonton, in Hamilton, in Saskatchewan, in Winnipeg. They should have won a couple of those games for sure. Like the home games were just, not only were they not good, they weren't close, they weren't winning, they weren't entertaining at home.
Yeah,
like, they were
you
entertaining.
lose a gunslinging shootout where at least you'd go home going, well, it was entertaining. No, like you were getting pumped at home.
Their most entertaining losses, because when you win, you're always happy.
Sure you are.
Like you could win
6-3.
8-0.
Yeah.
And it's not exciting, but you're happy because your team won.
Sure.
So I don't even look at the wins. I look at the losses. And did you entertain in the losses at home? And the answer is a resounding no, you didn't.
Yeah.
So,
and it was coinciding with the rise of a really fun, exciting Blue Jays team. And on a Friday night, coming down through August and September, given the choice, it's not even close what I'm going to have on my TV tonight, or forget going down to the stadium, right? Like, and I don't know how much those things are intertwined, but for the TV viewer, they're intertwined.
They can be for sure.
Yeah.
But in itself, like not everyone's a baseball fan, right?
Nope.
And people jumped on the bandwagon, which is great. But in itself, they weren't really worth watching for the most part. So,
right.
Yeah, I feel a lot better about the direction and all these issues that you hear about. And here's the thing about football. You always hear about issues. There's 70 guys on a team. So whether I hear them from a player, whether I hear them from somebody else in the media who talked to somebody, whether I hear them from a fan, and you'd be surprised how many times I walk down the street and someone's got a scoop about, I talked to this guy and blah, 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 and this is going on. And it's like, all right, like there's 70 guys in a football team.
Yeah.
Like, and most of those guys, quite frankly, are going to be unhappy.
Yeah, we're losing.
Well, no, I'm not even talking about that. 70 guys.
Yeah.
How many starting spots?
There you go.
There's
Yeah.
24.
Yeah.
So the guy on the practice roster who's bitching, the guy who's like playing special teams but thinks he should have a bigger role.
Okay.
Like
I see. Yeah.
they're always going to think, well,
They should be using me more, using me better.
When you're winning, you're right.
Yeah.
It's a lot different. But when you're losing, there's always guys bitching. So you hear a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, like all these questions that I had in terms of the offseason, in terms of how they're running things. And some of them were about the training staff and the fact that they got Jerry Townend to be their head of sports performance is a massive signing, ex-Ottawa Senators and ex-Argos guy. Like he's been in sports for a long, long time. So hopefully that solves some issues. But yeah, like all of a sudden those other issues don't really seem as important because it's just, okay, what's Ryan Dinwiddie doing with his staff? What are they doing in the offseason with the lineup? And let's see what he can put on the field. And it's exciting.
So just a couple days before the announcement, I think it was made while you were on the air on the drive one afternoon.
It was.
Yeah.
Because it caught me off guard.
Yeah.
So I can tell you this. Like, I had asked about Ryan Dinwiddie a week before.
Okay.
And they swear to me that at that point it wasn't an option. And I believe them in terms of the timeline. Like, because I'd heard the name and like,
yeah, he's still under contract to Toronto.
You know, one of the things that was being bandied about, was he doing this because he maybe wanted out? Was he doing this because he was looking for more leverage and power there? Was he legitimately looking to get out? Was he looking for a better contract? I don't know. But there were three names. Actually, there were four names that I heard.
Well, so let me stop you because I want to.
Yeah.
A couple days before that had happened, we'd had our mutual friend Bunda on the show here.
Yeah.
And, he does a lot of the sideline stuff around the Red Blacks, and he doesn't come on here and claim to be connected. But we were talking about, what do you do next?
He's
Where do you
more
go
connected
next?
than you know, by the way.
I believe that's true. But he's, you know as well as me, he's a humble guy. He doesn't walk around boasting about it or whatever. No. So I said to him, where would you go next? Because everybody that you talk to seems to love Dice as a human, but you can't do this again. So where are we going to go? And he says to me, he goes, I wonder about Mike O'Shea. He goes, I'd love to get Ryan Dinwiddie to talk to you. And I do wonder if Orlando Steinauer might be ready to come back. And I kind of said to him, because what the hell do I know? I said, I can't imagine any of those names are going to be available. And it turned out you got Ryan Dinwiddie.
Yeah.
And the Argos at least got an interview with Mike O'Shea. Like, that was at least on the table. And then it's less than a week later, and Bundes texted me just with the grinning face, right? Like, told you might be an option. And all of a sudden, Ryan Dinwiddie's in Ottawa. So you had 4 names you thought might be on the table.
Yeah, but probably the guy that I thought had the least opportunity of coming here was Dinwiddie.
Right.
But I asked.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like shot down. It was just one of those things where I was like, we don't think he's going to be available.
Sure.
Like, there was a sense that O'Shea might be available.
Yeah.
That Steinauer might be available. Mm-hmm. And Mark Mueller, offensive coordinator for Saskatchewan, grandson of Ron Lancaster, what I was told was that it was going to be really hard to pry him out of Saskatchewan.
Okay.
His wife has a really good job there, and you know, he was offensive coordinator, and so like it didn't seem like Mueller was going to be an option. It didn't seem like, to me, Dinwiddie was going to be an option. I'd heard like the O'Shea rumors have been there forever.
Yeah.
3 years ago as well, and I was kind of like, I'll believe it when I see it when he leaves. Like, clearly,
my whole thing was just they've been so good for so long. Is one down year enough to make this guy ready?
I don't think it's ever been about that. I don't know what the deal is, but I don't know. He only signs 1-year extensions.
Yep.
And so, like I always thought that was a long shot. And so I was really focused on Orlando Steinauer, which, like, it's interesting because some people thought that wouldn't be a good hire. He's a really good coach. He is. And I understand why some people wouldn't like it because of the Hamilton factor.
Sure.
And Sean Burke, and basically the thought that he's going back to Hamilton again. Well, you know what? You got to go for the best coach.
Yep.
And if he was the best coach, and quite frankly, and the other 3 guys, if they weren't options, then he would have been the best coach.
Sure.
Clearly. So in the end, the fact that they got Dinwiddie, and with all due respect to Steinauer and O'Shea, the big thing with Dinwiddie is, like with the other guys, you had to ask, okay, who's your offensive coordinator?
Right.
With Dinwiddie, you've got that coming in. So that, I think that's really important. Now he still has to bring his staff, and we'll see what happens on that front. But no, that was a home run hire. And
well, let me ask you this: in the way that
it completely caught me, to circle back to what you were saying, completely, like that day, I did not, like, a lot of times I have a pretty good sense that something's going to happen. Mm-hmm. I had no clue that was coming. That, like, I thought, all right, like Grey Cup in a couple of weeks, and they'll interview some candidates, and we're 2-3 weeks away from really getting to the nitty gritty of this, and all of a sudden, Dinwiddie? Really? Now, Dinwiddie. Okay. All right, let's go.
Well, let me ask you about the way this was structured, because this isn't that dissimilar to the way it is in a lot of sports, where you can't pluck somebody unless it's for a promotion.
Yeah.
Right? So they asked to talk to Dinwiddie, presumably, to come be their head coach, and Toronto could have went, no, like, he's our head coach. Now we're going to approach it as, well, we're going to give him GM and head coach. And if you recall, in the moments, now maybe you had already talked to some people, but as this was going public, they hadn't yet said, or it hadn't yet been reported that Sean Burke was staying, right? That he would be president. The news that Dinwiddie was going to be coach and GM broke first, and then shortly after, it was like, Sean Burke will...
I knew Burke was staying.
Okay.
I knew Burke was going to try and orchestrate something.
Well, so this is what I wanted to ask you is, is this Ryan Dinwiddie is GM in name only, and Sean Burke is still doing everything he used to do, but now moved up to a president title so that you could get around the rule that says you got to be giving Dinwiddie a promotion to come here?
So let's go back to...
You know what I'm saying? Like,
I knew this was something that Sean Burke was absolutely willing to do. Like, when I was asking him about Dinwiddie and Orlando Steinauer and Mike O'Shea, like, I knew they might have to give him head coach GM title, and he was happy with whatever title. He just wants to win here.
Sure.
And so I knew right away, like when the Dinwiddie stuff came out, I'm like, okay, they got Dinwiddie. Berkey got Dinwiddie.
Yeah.
Not to say like that it was all him and Oseg didn't play a part.
Oh, no, I'm sure.
Above that. I mean, they have to sign off on it, but this was clearly orchestrated by Sean Burke. In terms of how it's going to work, like I don't think Sean Burke and Ryan Dinwiddie are going to do much different from what they did last year in their separate roles. The only difference is, like,
so it is just titles.
Yes, but like there is the final say. So like, you know,
which remains with Burke.
No, the final say remains on the roster remains with Dinwiddie.
I guess to me, the president still don't you have to ask the president for permission to make these moves?
So again, nothing really changes, but and usually coach and GM are aligned on most things.
I understand,
but there's certain things where maybe the coach is adamant he wants this, and the GM wants something different. So now final say on that stuff rests with the coach rather than the GM.
Okay.
Well, coach GM rather than VP
with the president or
football
whatever.
operations. Now, Sean Burke's job is basically going to be the same. He's going to negotiate contracts. Like they're going to go out and try and get free agents together, and they're going to try and get free agents that are going to fit into Ryan Dinwiddie's system.
Right.
So like this isn't so much about free agency this year because that's always the case. It's more about who's leaving. And for example, like when you're good, you're going to get poached. And when you're the coach, and this is why Rick Campbell and Marcel Desjardins had a split, and this is clearly why Ryan Dinwiddie was frustrated with the situation in Toronto.
No upward room to move there.
When you're
like with pinball
the
sitting
coach,
above
you want final say on which players are the absolute no doubters that are going to stay. And with the Red Blacks, we saw in 2018 the exodus from Trevor Harris to, like those are the types of decisions that Ryan Dinwiddie, if he was the head coach with this title, would say, no, we're keeping Trevor Harris, we're keeping Greg Ellingson, we're keeping Sir Vincent Rogers, we're keeping William Powell. And we don't know how it was going to play out.
Nope.
Like in the end, everyone's looking for a raise. Certain guys are going to get squeezed out. But he's the one deciding who's getting squeezed out. So, for example, Folarin Oromalade goes from Toronto to Calgary. I'm guessing that's one where he's like, how did we lose our edge rusher? How did we lose that guy?
Right.
So that's how it's going to change. But in terms of, like, he's not going to be working 21 hours a day. Like, he's going to be the head coach. He's going to be the OC. And essentially, he's going to do the exact same stuff as before, only the difference is it'll be, no, we have to keep Oromalade. And Burke will be like, okay, we'll keep Oromalade. So that's literally the only thing that changes here.
Okay. I was just curious because sometimes it's no more complicated than moving the words around. And
yeah.
But
it's different titles.
Yeah.
But in the end, Burke is, for all intents and purposes, the GM.
Yeah.
But Dinwiddie is going to have say. Like, he is going to be able to say, no, well, we need this guy.
Right.
I need this guy. And when he says that, unlike in Toronto, he's going to get what he wants.
This is it. And for people not familiar, pinball is running the show in Toronto. There is no room for upward movement.
It was John Murphy.
Right. But nobody can go up as long as that's sort of... Anyway. I wanted to ask you how much you at least considered, or was it ever on the table? Because I know you're an Olympics guy. You're a travel guy, as we've well established on this show. Did you look into Milano Cortina at all, or did the World Cup being in North America this year pretty much take that off the table?
Slightly, but very little. There's just, World Cup's taking precedence, and so...
What would your... In a winter game, we talked about you going to Paris and what you got to see in the summer games. Had you been making the trip, where would the priorities be? What do I have to see if I'm going, even just for a few days? And it's a very spread out Olympics, I believe, across northern Italy.
Yeah, and that was also part of what I looked into, and it just wasn't going to work. Absolutely, men's hockey number one, Team Holman number two, and they're not in the same. That's Milan and that's Cortina.
Okay, yeah.
So that's not ideal, but. And then speed skating.
Yeah.
That would have been, that's my
Behind
1, 2,
hockey,
3.
speed skating's I love watching. Both long, short track, all of it's
The
insane.
problem with a lot of the other sports in the Winter Olympics, and I dealt with this going to rowing, a lot of them are better on TV.
Yes.
Simple as that. Because you're
cross
Like,
country
if-
skiing
exactly.
or moguls or whatever, it starts so far away.
you're not seeing much.
No.
Like hockey, you're seeing everything. Speed skating, you're seeing everything.
Curling,
you're seeing everything. Ski jumping too, but a lot of the sports, you're just not seeing everything. So yeah, those absolutely. Team Holman number 2, men's hockey like women's hockey too for sure.
Yep.
Sorry, I don't want to sound like I wouldn't be interested in the women's hockey as well.
Sure,
but it would be men's hockey by a mile, and then the speed skating, the women's curling. And the women's hockey.
I think I've asked you about this before. Was 88? Was that the only Olympic hockey you've seen?
Yeah,
in
I was
person?
at the quote unquote gold medal game.
Yes. Different format back in the
Gold
day.
medal had already been decided. So it was the Soviets. I was 12 years old, and even I knew that the Soviets were hung over for the quote unquote gold medal game, which they'd already celebrated their gold and then mailed it in
round
hung
robin
over
tournament,
against Finland, who won the silver that game by beating the Soviet Union, which meant nothing for the Soviets.
No.
They're already winning gold.
Does it change for you at all now that you will be watching on TV those top 3 in terms of what your interest will be most focused on when these fire up in February?
I just love, like,
there's something on all the time.
It's
awesome.
I've I did a bit of a schedule the last couple of days of just like, okay, Sens, and obviously the Sens aren't playing in the middle of the Olympics, but just looking at the next couple of months, Sens, soccer, because Atletico Ottawa's playing.
Right.
CONCACAF Champions Cup. Can I talk about that briefly as well?
Because they're playing it nowhere near here.
Yeah, so I will. But yeah, just going through everything. And man, those 16 days, like there's not a lot that I was trying to schedule in because I just want to be in front of the TV for most of it. No, it doesn't have to be every day, but definitely wanted to know, okay, one of the men's hockey games, like what's going on, and just ensuring that
I went through
I'll
the
be
other
watching
day
most
and
of it.
the hockey tournaments where I started on both the men's and the women's side, and I've put in my calendar each of the start times. Like these are can't miss events, and they're not all Canada games. Like what if we get to a Sweden Finland, I think are in the same group on the men's side or whatever. Like I want to watch that game. Like
it's
these
going
are
to be
so
great
rare
hockey.
opportunities. It's going to be awesome for sure. Talk to me about this
Yeah.
Atletico Ottawa thing, because for people who've missed it, they have made the CONCACAF Champions League, I believe it's called.
CONCACAF Champions Cup, it's called.
Champions
I don't know
Cup.
why they needed to change the name.
Fair enough.
From Cup to League, or League to Cup. But
That was coming off a legendary snowy championship game,
Yeah.
but it means you get to play in another round, and the next game's going to be in February, and I guess there are renovations taking place at the stadium here at TD Place, and I hear it's going to be in Hamilton they're going to play.
so it is, and it's not ideal. But
It is not ideal.
if anyone's listening that's complaining about this right now, like if you don't know what you're talking about, like stop questioning everything. Like I question things when I ask around and know what I'm talking about to a certain degree,
Mm-hmm.
and then I complain. But when you don't know what you're talking about, like why you complain? I heard so many complaints from people that had no clue what they were talking about. Like I've been asking about this stuff for 2-3 years because I knew the logistical issues of playing in Canada in February in this competition are problematic. And so
Playing in November in this climate was a problem.
But
right? Like,
November is fine though.
well, but we saw what it
November's
looked
fi-
like, right?
Yeah, no,
in
I
that
get
championship
that.
game.
But, but you're missing the point here.
I probably am, AJ, but just because most of these listeners to this show are on my side of the don't know what you're talking about. That game, that championship game, looked incredibly fun, right? Like to watch what happened, that was awesome. That's Canadiana. That's beautiful. But the number of people from around the world I saw in the replies going, that's unsafe. That game shouldn't have been played. What a joke. Like these sorts of things. And now we're going to fast forward to February and do it? Like I do have time for that being a...
Well, but that has nothing to do with it, though.
Okay.
Like, you could get 2 feet of snow in Hamilton in February.
Sure you could.
Like, and that could have been the issue here. Here's the problem. But and again, it goes back, like, people are thinking about weather as it affects that day.
Yeah.
like the reason you can make NFL games work now is because they've been constantly playing games throughout the season. And so they're planning, and if there's a big snowstorm in Buffalo, then they get people to shovel. But if all of a sudden, like imagine with all of that, like let's say Buffalo played a CFL type schedule, and then all of a sudden you said, well, we're going to play a soccer game at Ralph Wilson Stadium in February,
right,
when their season ends in November or October, and the stadium is closed in October. There's all these logistical issues in terms of keeping the stadium running.
I remember reading about this. Old Yankee Stadium couldn't host an outdoor NHL game. The pipes wouldn't allow it. The plumbing wouldn't allow it. Now, New Yankee was able to do it when they got that open, but Old Yankee Stadium couldn't handle it. So the New York City had to look elsewhere up until 2009 when that opened.
There's so many, why didn't they have it at McGill? Right. Why didn't they have it at Queens? You can't just, do you see any other events at McGill and Queens in February or Carleton or whatever? Yeah. It's Canada in February. People aren't planning to play in these stadiums. And so like there's issues in terms of snow removal, both in terms of the seats and on the field. And do you do it all in one shot? Do you keep maintenance throughout, December, January, February, so you're ready for the game then? Heat and hydro and all this stuff, which normally you're just like, okay, we're shutting her down until the spring. Like, it's expensive. It's grossly expensive, and it's logistically near impossible. You can't play in the Big O because of renovations. You can't play BMO Field because of renovations. You can't play at Saputo. Montreal doesn't play at Saputo anyways until April.
You play under the bubble at RA Center in front of 300 people.
And CONCACAF determines which stadiums are approved by them or not. And so a lot of, you can just play here. And well, no, you can't. So it sucks.
Yep.
I'm with all these people. It sucks. I don't want this game in Hamilton. You think Ottawa, like, there is a rivalry, not just on the pitch, off the pitch.
Sure.
With Ford. You'd think of all the places that they're like, let's play in Hamilton Stadium.
Right.
Like, that's the last place they want to play. So if you don't know what you're talking about this, just ask questions. Don't make it sound like you know something. Like, I've been asking these questions for years, wondering, I want this to happen, but if it happens, are they going to be able to make it work at TD Place? And because of the renovations right now and some of the stuff, they're putting pipes underneath copper, I don't know, something to do with the new arena. They couldn't make it work. Maybe in March, hopefully in March, but you got to get there.
To your understanding, when these renos are done a few years from now, will they be able to do it? When this is all
Well, you can,
set?
but it's going to be costly.
Yeah.
So
it's always going to be costly.
It's going to be costly wherever. It's going to be costly in Hamilton. But yes, you can make it happen. And like in an ideal world, if you can't do it there, the Big O would be like, it's 2 hours away. The Big O would be a great place, but it's not open right now.
No, but that's a big ask for your fans.
No, I get it.
Yeah.
There's no ideal. We're not supposed to be playing soccer here in February.
Well, what do you think of the MLS adjusted schedule? We're going to do this now. Like they're shifting their schedule to be more in line with Europe. I get the logistical reasons to do that.
It's only 3 dates that they're different.
Yeah.
There's 3 because, like they're taking a big winter break. So I think there's only 3 dates that are different.
I get why you'd want to be in line, but you're just not playing in the same conditions.
Well, it's not ideal for Montreal because Toronto can play at home and Vancouver can play at home, but Saputo can only play in April. So it's 3 more dates, and they're already starting with like 6 or 7 road games every year.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
You think
I guess it's a little bit different where, they're probably going to do more of a front-end loaded schedule.
You'd have to.
And then, once you get into February, but I mean, I'd rather go on a 6 or 7 game road trip to start the year than to start the second half of the season that way. But that's a problem for Montreal. And maybe when the Big O is open again, maybe that's going to be a possibility to play a few games there. But that's less games in your normal stadium and more in your secondary stadium. So that's not exactly ideal either.
Last thing, let me pick your brain here on what is going on in the NHL's Atlantic Division right now. And it just feels like just about everybody is in the muck. And it's starting to spread out a little, it feels like, but still not all that far. And like you sort of look at it, and for the longest time, whether it be Ottawa, Toronto, I guess Buffalo, but like, oh, we're only like 3 points back, a third or second in the division, but you're like 6 out of the wild card. It's just the whole division is kind of mediocre. Tampa at different times has fired it up and gotten going. We've seen Boston and Detroit have runs and then fall back. Montreal has had runs and then fall back. Ottawa, I remember a couple of weeks ago, finished one night in second, lost that game, and dropped to like 11th in the conference. It's just ridiculous right now. Is it just a weird year where nobody is running away with it? Are all these teams kind of mediocre? Is it injuries? Like, it seems so strange that none of these teams can sort of get away. By all rights, right now, Toronto should be dead in the water with the couple of months they had to start the year. And yet, while not looking good, they're not dead yet. They should be dead. Nobody's getting away with this. Like, it's...
I feel like Carolina is the only team that can feel comfortable about a playoff spot right now. And everybody else, because I don't look at it just within the division, because of the stupid format and the crossover and all that stuff. Like, you're going to get, you could get 5 teams from one division and 3 from the other. I've said pretty consistently over the last week that I think the Metropolitan has some frauds. And I don't think they're going to get 5 teams in the playoffs. I'd gladly be, not gladly, because I'd like to see Ottawa and Buffalo get into the playoffs. Toronto doesn't need to get
Toronto.
There. No. But I think there's some frauds in that division. I think
Pittsburgh's not real. Philly's not real.
Pittsburgh and Philly. We'll see on the Islanders. Like,
they're not real.
Matthew Schaefer is that much of a game changer. And
So
Patrick Waugh is a really good coach, and they got good goaltending. So I could see the Islanders squeaking into a playoff spot. Let's put it this way. Islanders, Pittsburgh, Flyers, I'll say it right now, I think only one of those teams make the playoffs.
Yeah.
So, I think there's going to be more than just 3 spots in the playoffs in the Atlantic, and I think it's wide open. I think Tampa's going to make it. I feel like in the end, Florida's going to get there. And then, you've got 2 or 3 other spots. I still think Ottawa has the group to get there, but,
they need to show some consistency.
Well,
here.
There's a lot of nights for the Sens where they play well and they just don't get a point. You got to get points in this
Saturday
league.
against Minnesota, right? That's a
The
golden example. You battled back and then gave it away.
With all the 3-point games in this league, when you lose in regulation, it's a killer.
Yep.
And they lose too many games in regulation where they where they look like they should get a point or two, and they can't get it there, whether they're out playing a team early, not scoring, losing 2-1, or whether they're pissing away an opportunity late in the game like they did against Minnesota, and they've done 2 or 3 other times like that this year in the last few minutes. So
to their credit, they didn't look like they were going to get one against Winnipeg and then all of a sudden tie it late and get a win. Like, that's a big moment for them.
It could be a big win for them. They've got to win some home games.
Yes.
500 at home's not good enough. I mean, the Rangers are not been good at home either. So
the Rangers are ridiculous at home.
Yeah. But you got to win your home games.
Yeah, 100%, man. Yeah.
And the Ottawa Senators have a bunch of home games coming up against teams that I think are middling. Pittsburgh and Chicago without Bedard. And you've got, I know Columbus is coming
Chicago
up in the
without
new year.
Bedard at the moment is upsetting me. I don't know what's happened since you and I have been chatting, but
It's still 2-0.
Super.
Yeah, so there's you got to win. Like, they've got to make some hay here between now and like mid-January, where
get into that Olympic break in place, right? We have established ourselves here and gotten out of this wobble.
You can't be at the bottom of the pack. They're still in the pack, which is great. But if we get into January and they're still at the bottom of the pack, I mean, it's always better to be in the pack than not. But that's where I'll be.
And I just don't think it'll stay
concerned.
this clumped, right? At some point, somebody's going to start to get some traction, right? Whether it be Florida getting their guy, like Matthew Tkachuk will be back within the next week or 2. Barkov obviously still a ways off. I'm with you. I think Florida will find a way. They always do, and they've got the horses to do it. Tampa, I think, is for real. And after that, I have no idea. I have no idea what that's going to look like. 2 more quick ones. I know I said that'd be it. I'll get you out of here, but not what Hockey Canada would do. What would AJ do on these three young guys who have pushed up. You mentioned Matthew Schaefer. Connor Bedard is hurt, separated shoulder. We'll see. They're saying early January. But outside of the injury there and Macklin Celebrini, those guys have all put themselves firmly in the conversation. Have any of them or all of them put themselves on the team for you?
I think Celebrini's on the team. The other two, it's going to be interesting, especially with Bedard and the injury. I'd have them all there, and the reason I'd have them all there is because you've got 2 extra spots here. You got 14 and 8. So you got 2 extra spots in a game. It's not just 12 and 6, it's 13 and 7. And then you got 2 extra spots in the press box.
Yep.
So, like, you got 14 and 8. Like, if Connor Bedard goes there and plays against France and he's a little too loose for your liking, or plays against Switzerland, whatever, and, you know, he's exposed defensively, whatever it might be, not clicking with a certain guy, like, you can put him up in the press box.
Yeah, bring Tom Wilson
or you
into
can
your
dress
lineup
him
or whatever it might be. Yeah.
as the 13th forward.
Power play too.
And play like 5 minutes and play on the power play and play in a game late where, you know, you're down a goal or whatever it might be. In an ideal world, you're not going to have many of those moments. But if it comes, it's nice to have that in your holster.
Mm-hmm.
If you got 13 and 7, which you're allowed to dress. So you're going to dress that. So, yeah, I would bring them all. If you were dressing 12 and 6 and had 2 extras, then it's a little tighter. Sure. But because of those extra 2 players, like, Celebrini would be on my team regardless. And yeah, those other 2, I mean, Schaefer's just a difference maker. And Bedard, what he's done this year, speaks for itself.
For me, Matthew Schaefer has taken the spot that we talked about Evan Bouchard in for a while. Like, well, what do you do with Evan Bouchard? Because Cale Makar is going to run your power play. Well, I'm going to sit him in the press box, and if Makar goes down, I now have a guy who can come in and run that power play. Well, I think Matthew Schaefer can come in and be that offensive guy. And already, I distrust him a little more not to make the big mistake that Bouchard has been prone to. So I'm with you. I would take all 3. I don't think there's any chance Hockey Canada is taking an 18-year-old defenseman or a rookie defenseman, but if it were up to me, yeah, Matthew Schaefer is.
We'll see. Schaefer's that good. He's one of Canada's, and I saw this at the World Juniors last year. Like, he was awesome. And Canada's hopes, basically, now they didn't take enough good players anyways. But
this is why I'm going this way, AJ.
But their hopes were
dashed.
That
World Junior team was not.
When Matthew Schaefer got hurt against Latvia. And I knew it. Like, when he went into that crossbar, I'm like, they're cooked. They don't have enough here.
No.
And they didn't. And it was super disappointing. But look, Canada's not like, let's be honest. Like, when I put together a roster and I write down my 15 forwards, and it's easier to do when you're talking about in or out, and you've got one fewer in than out.
Yes.
Or sorry, the other way around. One fewer out than in, because you're adding one player. So for me, it's Cirelli, Jarvis, and Konechny out.
Yeah.
And they're all great players.
And if we're being honest, Bennett's having a terrible year, but he's kind of got the track record that says, I want that guy there.
Last I looked, he was 20 points in 29 games. That's not terrible.
I guess.
It's Sam Bennett. Like,
I haven't looked at
He's not a 90-point guy.
He's on my team still. He's on my team still.
That's a point. That's 2/3 of a point a game.
Well, that's not where he was for like a couple weeks ago when I looked. So
he was 20 and 29.
Okay.
So that's on pace for like 55 points.
Yep.
That's what he is.
Yes.
He's a fourth line. You're not bringing him to be a first line center. Nope. You got that.
Yep.
You're bringing him to play on the fourth line with Tom Wilson and Brad Marchand or something along, or Hagel if he's healthy.
Yes.
As long as
stops elbowing him in the head.
Yeah. So from that perspective. No, it's Cirelli out, and I don't know if they're going to do that with John Cooper on the team. Yeah. But it's Cirelli out, it's Konechny out, it's Jarvis out, and then it's Wilson in, Suzuki in, Scheifele in, and Celebrini in.
Yeah.
And then then you're looking at injuries. So that's not including Bedard.
No.
But basically, if Bedard is healthy enough to go, then I see who else might be injured. Maybe it's Brandon Hagel. Maybe it's somebody else. And then I decide from there. But in an ideal world, I'd like all 3 there. And Schaefer would be the only new defenseman for me, and I'd take him over either Sanheim or Harley. I'd take him over Sanheim. I don't think they're going to do that, but I think he should be there as the 8th defenseman.
Last thing then, World Juniors. You mentioned last year it was a little rough, but this used to be, for me, my favorite event of the year every year that I could depend on, right? Or my favorite annual event. Obviously, sometimes the Olympics would take over or whatever, but I can count on this every year. And over the last several years, it's not even just the last two where Canada struggled so hard. There's a little shine come off it for me, but once it starts up again, it always grabs my attention. Where does it rank for you on your annual calendar? And, what are you looking forward to from this one?
Yeah, it's always one of my favorite events. I love, once you get to Boxing Day, and now with the NFL on Christmas, it helps, but
yes.
That holiday season, and you get hockey on all the time, and meaningful hockey.
Yep.
And I'm not saying regular season hockey isn't meaningful, but it's different.
It's always so hard to go back to regular season hockey right after that World Junior gold medal game.
No, just the intensity.
You guys.
No, it's phenomenal. So, yeah, we'll see. I mean, I think it doesn't sound like they've left too much back at home. There's always some really good players.
Have we heard anything on Sam Dickinson? He was maybe going to come, and we've heard nothing here lately. I saw Scott Wheeler had reported last week when San Jose was in Toronto, probably leave him there, send him to Niagara Falls to do the camp. That didn't happen. I'm starting to think he's not going to be available for them.
Yeah, that I don't know. Yeah. But I think there's not the same type of, they're right away. There was just outrage amongst scouts last year about who was left off of the camp and then who was left off the team. So, yeah, there was just a bit of a cloud, and that team wasn't good enough. No. That team, you shouldn't, as good as Matthew Schaefer is, you shouldn't be relying on a 17-year-old player to carry you. And when he went down, their hopes went down the tubes.
Power play went with it. The offensive transition went with it. Everything.
So this team, hopefully they're going to be better.
Yep.
We'll see how it plays out, but yeah, I'm excited to watch as always. It's something I've been watching since the CBC days.
Yes.
I know some people look, and I work for TSN Radio. This thing wasn't invented by TSN. This thing was pretty damn good in the CBC days. Mm-hmm. Pia Stanley punch up, watching Don Cherry and Brian Williams go at it afterwards. My dad has never forgiven Brian Williams after that. And you know what? I watched that after the fact, and Don Cherry was bang on. You can crap on him all you want about a lot of other things, but and I'm a big Don Cherry guy. I mean, yeah, he said some things that, sometimes rub some people the wrong way for sure, but he was definitely right on that, and I'm glad he stood up for the players because I still remember like it was yesterday. I would have been, I guess, 11 years old watching that event. The late Sean Simpson was on that team, of course, beating up the Soviet goalie, and just so many great events, great memories, from watching that event through the years.
But you're so right. To wake up on Boxing Day, especially when it's in Europe, which it isn't this year, but you turn on the TV at 9 o'clock while you're sort of getting your stuff together after Christmas, and maybe it's Sweden, Czechs, or something on in the afternoon or late morning. You're like, I got this all day. This is going to be just fine, right? So, a beauty of an event for sure. Always appreciate you making the time, AJ.
Pleasure, as always.
Best of the holiday season to you, and
you too.
Yeah, and. Thanks for coming in. Covered a lot of ground here. No doubt I'll come knocking before the World Cup, looking for your perspective again as it gets a little closer. But for now, thanks for doing this. Merry Christmas, and
Merry Christmas to you. And always great to be with you.
Stick around throughout the holiday season on the Tall Can Audio podcast. Lots of great stuff, as always. Rob and I will have our annual Christmas Eve special. We've got the AJ, you may or may not enjoy this, the Brew Marsh. We sit around, have a couple of brews, and talk about the Canadian Athlete of the Year from our perspective. We do that with Michaela Schreider and Vanessa Sanchez from She's Got Game. And our friend Chris Hoffley makes himself available for that. So always good stuff up on the show throughout the holiday season. Make sure you're subscribed to catch all of it. We'll see you all next time.
I thought it generally sucked. I didn't think it was a specific suck. I thought it was like an all-encompassing type of suck. So, we're going to try and rectify that. But for right now, I'm going to be pretty pissed about it.